Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Fabulites. This is Angela. The channel is Be Fabulous You. I don't have questions for you. I'm doing a review, recap, commentary. I might have some questions. But on Real Housewives of Atlanta, is it season 6, season 9? I think it's season 9. Reunion part 2. And so let's get into it. If you want to stick around to hear that, please do like, comment, subscribe, and all of those other good things. Okay, so one thing that I noticed is that when I saw pictures of the ladies standing up, there was some shots that I saw on the internet or whatever of them standing up. Some of the dresses and outfits were much more flattering standing up than when they were sitting down on the couch. So, I got a different take on some of the outfits just from seeing them standing up. But I still feel that Cynthia's hair and outfit is the best, because I think it was the most flattering when she was sitting down. But that's beside the point. Okay, so one thing that they talked about is kind of Portia being bullied. Is Portia an easy target for people to bully? In a way, I think that she kind of had been an easy target for bullying. Or I don't know if bullying is really the appropriate word, but for attack. Dang, the UPS is flying down the street. I thought that it was an interesting little dynamic when I don't even remember particularly what the issue was between Kenya and Portia, but Kenya said, well, you never apologized to me for that. And Phaedra said, could you just apologize so we have it, so it's on camera? And Portia said, I did already apologize on camera, or something to that effect. And then they rolled some footage of her saying, I acknowledge something. And an acknowledgement is definitely different from an apology. And to me, an apology, just for the sake of apologizing on camera, that ain't really no apology. You could keep that too. And I know that this is kind of like, they're working together and they're doing a lot of stuff for the cameras that's not sincere and not real. But that seemed like the height of, Portia's instruction to, well, just go ahead and apologize for the camera. I didn't particularly care for that whole dynamic. They talked a little bit about Matt and Kenya's relationship. And something about Sheree I wrote down, but I don't remember what it was. But I do remember thinking that it was interesting that Kenya knew about Sheree having been in an abusive relationship. Sheree said she never told Kenya. There's some exchange where Kenya's like, well, remember that time we had lunch? Remember that lunch? And Sheree is like, did the person that I was with, that we were with, tell you? And Kenya is like, no, that person didn't tell me. And I'm kind of like, when you're telling lies and when you're keeping secrets, sometimes you might not even realize that you've revealed something or remember who you've revealed something to. So I'm like, did she tell Kenya and forget that she told Kenya? Because she's like, we were talking about cheating. We weren't talking about abuse. Or is it that, that maybe because Kenya has been in, or an abusive relationship as well, that she could kind of recognize the dynamics and read between the lines and understand. But I just thought it was interesting because, Sheree insists she ain't tell the child, but she was in an abusive situation. So does she think the child is psychic? I mean, but anyway, and then this whole dynamic of, Sheree with Matt, him being a nice guy. And then she said on the TV that she didn't call him, not Sheree with Matt, but Kenya with Matt. And Kenya said that she did not call him after Charlotte. And then Andy, I think, asked her, well, what about, having sex in the car? And she said, well, maybe that one time. And it's kind of like, well, was it one time? Was it 2 times? Having sex in the car, that don't seem like you're broken up. And she did assert several times, we've always been with men longer than we needed to. And I think just in life, a lot of times we've been in situations longer than, I don't even know if I could say longer than we needed to, but sometimes, I know I was in one particular work situation I can think of. And when I went back and looked at my journals, it was a year of me, talking to myself about what was going on there and writing about it. And, I'm like, should have left a year ago when I looked at my journals, but that's what my process was. It took me to actually leave that work situation. But how you treat other folks is really, really important. That's one thing that I noted down. I think we kind of all have to learn, but I'm definitely interested in how you treat me. And I think that that's very important. And also, I think that different people treat different people differently. Like if I allow you to dog me out, you might dog me out. But if I don't allow you to dog me out, then maybe you won't dog me out. But I think that I should be attentive. Even if you don't dog me out, if I see you dogging other people out, if I see you dogging the wall out, if I see you kicking the dog, if I see you, being rude to, other people or speaking in nasty ways about other people, that's something that I should take note of. I think whether you're my friend or my lover or whatever, if I observe behavior in you directed toward other people that I would not want directed toward me, then that's something for me to take note of. And I definitely take note of that. And also, I think that, as things progress, now this is not specifically about this show, but just about life in general. But, a lot of times, like, with abusive situations, they might progress A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or they might go A to M. So it might be go from somebody talking nasty and being mentally abusive to them smacking you upside your head, without them, so the fact that the man, this might be in a whole nother section, but, let's just go on and talk about Sheree now. The fact that the man was having thoughts about, abusing her, or thoughts about hurting her, or expressing that he had thoughts of wishing that she would die in a plane, but he didn't want to wish that on her mother. That's something that I think is alarming. If you didn't already know that then, or if we didn't already know that then, I think that we need to be aware now going forward that if someone is expressing that they have thoughts of hurting us, metaphysically, when you look at the creative process, generally we start with thoughts and then we move to words and then we move to actions. And sometimes that process might take years. Sometimes that process might take moments. But if somebody is having thoughts about hurting my ass, then that's not a good situation. That's a situation I might want to get out of, or you should get out of, if you asking me. I know you didn't ask my opinion, but I'm just gonna tell you. Okay, so is Kenya a provoker? Yes, we've talked about this. I think Kenya is definitely a provoker, and I've read someplace that just in terms of her relationship with her mother, I don't know if it was something that she had written or that someone had, I don't know, but I have this impression of a little girl walking into a room with several people, one of whom she knows is her mother, or being in a room with several people, and her mother coming into the room, and her mother saying hello to everyone in the room. Hi, Mary. Hi, Doreen. Hi, Kelly. And ignoring the little girl, Kenya. And so I think that would have, if that's true, I think that would have a big impression on you. And I think that you would want someone to notice you. And I think that you would have, be aggressive in trying to get noticed, and aggressive in trying to get engagement, and aggressive in trying to get interaction. And I think that we see that behavior, from her. She's kind of aggressive sometimes in trying to get people to interact with her, whether it's productive or not productive, or healthy or not healthy. If what I've heard about her is true, it would totally make sense that that would be an approach to relationship that she would have. And then Kenya talking about, well, that's the kind of craziness that she had to put up with Matt. Well, why did you have to put up with it? Why do we, as women or as people, feel that we have to accept bull? I mean, if someone is crazy, you don't have to put up with that. We don't have to put up with that. So, yeah, I just think that, our standards are low, and that we should be, expecting and looking for people who treat us great and wonderful all the time, and people who add value all the time. Not saying that, situations and relationships are perfect, but, I don't know. I just feel like, you're looking at these beautiful, intelligent, women, and, I want your standards to be higher, I want you to stay out. Yeah, I believe you deserve more. And I don't think you have to settle for crazy. And then, in terms of why she would be afraid of and uncomfortable with Portia, and maybe not afraid of or uncomfortable with Matt, or would be more comfortable with Matt, she was fucking Matt. She wasn't fucking Portia. So, you know, there's a way that people are going to process that that's different. You know, right, wrong, or indifferent. I think that, you know, whether you having sex with somebody or not, if they abusive, they abusive. Even if they're not abusive, if it's not a healthy relationship for you, if it's not making you be a better person, helping you to be a better person, inspiring you to be a better person, supporting you in being a better person, modeling for you, you know, how to grow and develop as a person, it might not be a good match for you. Girl, I'm gonna let the back windows down some more. Okay, so we move on to Phaedra. Phaedra's divorce. I thought that line was hilarious when Kenya said, you know, something to the effect of alternative facts, aka lies. I thought that was hilarious. You know, my mom, who's an attorney, she said, well, I never really heard of appeals in divorces. I thought that, you know, they were consensual, you know, situations, and we were kind of talking about the fact that the laws are different, you know, in different places, and, you know, I don't know. But I just thought that was funny because you know how you might not know, but they have like the new math now. So a lot of times when someone who I've done college level math, and sometimes you look at, you know, the way that they're teaching children math, and it's like, well, this is the new math. I don't know, you know, so maybe it's the new law. And I was kind of surprised to hear, and kind of a little bit disappointed to hear that, you know, Candy had the impression that Phaedra might be using connections or using her influence with people who work for the city to have a negative effect on Candy's business. That's kind of sad. Like, I don't know. I would like to imagine that these women have full and busy lives, and that they're busy living and enjoying their lives, and don't have time to be trying to tear somebody else's stuff down. That's what I would like to believe. What about you? What would you like to believe? Okay. Can y'all hear this dog over here panting? This idea about Phaedra being very controlling and manipulative. I can see that. Really trying to control everything around her and manipulate and control, you know, images. I think that Mama Joyce going and talking to the lawyer and trying to figure out the whole divorce thing, I think the deplorable might be a strong word for what she did, Candy. It seemed a little petty and silly, and again, like, don't you have better things to do with your time than be investigating my divorce or non-divorce, or Phaedra's divorce or non-divorce? But I think deplorable is a very strong word for that. And then, you know, Phaedra saying that she has lied on the show. Like, I remember her lying about her pregnancy, and they brought that up in the reunion. But, you know, the lies that she's told during the show, I think that her rationale was saying that, you know, it's a courtesy for her to say anything if you ask her a question that's none of your business. So she just lies. But I'm like, you don't have to tell people, you know, anything. And who is she trying to fool? Like, you know, with the whole pregnancy thing, her mama know, God knows, the church knows, you know what I mean? People can add and figure stuff out. So, you know, I don't know. To me, it just seems kind of like, you could just say, well, I don't want to talk about it, or you know, girl, that ain't none of your business, or that's a personal matter. That's personal. I don't talk, you know, I don't know. But I don't understand this default to lying. It makes me think that you're a liar. I mean, I'm just saying, that's what it makes me think. I don't know. I like seeing the children. Ace was born 1/6/16. That was cute. Cairo, Mr. President, all of these kids over the years and seeing them grow up. Does Riley want a music career? I don't know, but I know that they said she was excited when who was it? Was it Rihanna liked something she did? So, you know, you may not necessarily want it, but sometimes your parents might see something for you, or, you know, and then you be like, dang, they were right. I'm glad I made this recording. Naomi Campbell said, Watch What Happens Live, that Cairo has a future. And Cynthia said, what was the other part of what he said, of what Naomi Campbell said? And then Andy said that Cynthia could whip him into shape. So, it's great to have potential. I think that's kind of what it brought to mind, that, Cairo or any of us might have great potential, but we still need mentoring and support. A lot of times we're not just like these amazing prodigies that get out here and just, kill it with no help. And it's nothing wrong with, receiving help and assistance, out here in this world, Sheree, I don't know if you blocking your blessings for your babies and all of that. Okay, so on to Sheree. Internalizing message of abuse and blaming the victim. A lot of times you'll see that some of the most anti-black people are black people. Some of the most, hateful people toward women are other women. And, I could see here, and I could kind of feel here how, as someone who had been abused, she had a lot of, well, what are you doing to provoke the abuse? Directed toward Kenya, that she, had kind of internalized this idea that somehow she had provoked her own abuse or was responsible for her own abuse. Now, I do feel like as grown-ups, as adults, a lot of times it's a two-way street. We're participating, together. That there is some responsibility that I can take when I look back on a relationship and when I look back on a situation. There's some things that I can learn and some things that I can take away from it, and some ways in which I can avoid being in situations like that in the future. But I still don't, I feel like no matter what, anybody, I just don't feel like hitting people or threatening people or, talking negatively to people or about people is productive. I don't think it's loving. I don't think it's positive. And I don't think it's a good look. So we talked about thoughts, words, and actions in terms of abuse. I really hated that scene when Phaedra was coaching Bob to apologize after he said that he guessed that he didn't choke her hard enough. I didn't realize that Phaedra and Bob were friends, but that was really, especially if they were friends, he needs more help than just apologize. It's similar. It's similar to this idea of Phaedra advising Portia to go ahead and apologize on camera. That's very different from a sincere apology. When she's telling him apologize, she's mouthing it in there in the car. That's very different from him sincerely being sorrowful or apologetic for his behavior and having grown to a different place. So I just hated that whole dynamic. And then we have had some physical altercations. Sheree said something to that effect. Again, Matt is big. Mr. Whitfield is big. I don't know how I'm gonna have a physical. I don't know how we fight and I have a chance to win that fight. But I'm not a martial artist, so I think that there are some tips and tricks when you're dealing with someone who's physically bigger than you. But I don't think that either of those. I think that those, I don't know, just the whole abuse thing. She talked about how she's protected him and the kids from discussing about the abuse that she experienced, and that she still has not spoken to her children about the episode. It's sort of like once you recorded it, once it happened, maybe she thought that it would be edited out and it would never come to the light of day. But it seems like if you haven't dealt with it, now is the time to deal with it and be like, look, your father and I had some issues, I'm working through this. But it just shows how much is still really unresolved and really unworked through for her. Ooh, y'all, I'm really, thirsty. And she portrays herself as a strong woman, and she doesn't want her daughters to get a certain impression. And I don't want her son to get a certain impression either. And sometimes I think the strongest place that we can be is admitting, and kind of admitting that we made a mistake, admitting that we need help, getting help. And, I just really think that Sheree really needs to be strong in a different way. And I'm just saying, I'm strong, I got it, I'm holding it all together. Sometimes you need to just like totally break down, and that's the strongest move you can make. That's the most powerful move you can make. That's the best model that you can be for your children, girl children and boy children. Her being alone for 6 months with the kids, no word from the husband, keeping the secret from her family and from the world, that was really sad. I think that's basically the end of the episode. But just like, it just was like how many times, and people I know who, you know, I know they're keeping secrets, and there are things that they're dealing with alone, and that, you know, they're dealing with alone because they want to keep a certain impression up. And I guess because they're being afraid of being judged in a certain way. But, you know, I think it's alienating. You end up dealing with things alone that maybe you don't have to deal with alone, and are not really yours to deal with alone. So anyway, I don't know what's going on with my voice. I'm gonna go get some water. That was the Real Housewives of Atlanta. That was part 2. Part 3 is when it gets really grimy. And I think that part 4 is like unseen footage thing. I don't think it's actually 4 parts to the reunion. I feel like I read that someplace. Is that what you heard? Anyway, thank you for watching, liking, commenting, subscribing. And thank you so much, Fabulous One, for being fabulous you. Mwah.